Welcome to the Smooth Force Fitness Podcast, round two. We are back, took a little break, but I'm proud to be back with my friend Gina Onayiga, who was on the first round of the podcast, and she came back, and we're going to speak about health, because this podcast is about health, fitness, all that good stuff. And as I mentioned, there's no one better to speak about it than my good friend Gina. How you doing, Gina?
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming back. Again, round two.
Round two.
I'm excited about it. This podcast is about fitness, okay? It's about fitness, it's about health, but it's not just about lifting weights. It's not just about stretching. It's about mental health, which is super important. And I'm a big advocate of having a clear mind, okay? And what I did in preparation for this podcast interview was I spoke to a few friends.
Okay.
And I asked them a few questions. And I'm like, what's bothering you? Or what do you see that's out there that could be fixed? Okay. So the best person to ask is someone who's in that field.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go over what this let me tell you who Gina is. So let me do that before I get to any of the questions. Okay. Gina is a licensed clinical social worker, a forensic social worker, a yoga instructor, a Reiki professor. I want you to say, 'cause I know I said it wrong.
Reiki.
Okay.
A
So
Reiki practitioner.
A Reiki practitioner and an integrated health coach.
And a psychotherapist.
That's some resume. That's some resume. I like it. So I think I found the right person to answer these questions. And let me start off with the first one. In many communities, generational trauma often shows up in cycles of abandonment, financial struggle, silence around abuse, or emotional neglect passed down from parents to children. How can families begin to break free from these specific patterns and start building healthier legacies? That's big.
That's a loaded question.
It is, but you don't want to answer.
It's a loaded question. Okay. To start, the person that sees everything that's going on, are you answering the call to make the change? Because if you decide this needs to change, as far as legacy, are you accepting the call? One, that means you understand the behaviors that happened kind of generations before you. So let's take sexual abuse. So there's a history of, let's say, men or women being sexually abused in the family. And you notice that the way your family has coped with it before is to not address it at all. You seeing that, you disagree with it, you will have to model what that is supposed to look like. So for yourself, if you were sexually abused, or say you weren't and you just don't agree with the way your family has coped with certain things, you have to then, you have to process you're processing how you experience that. Also, how you're healing from that yourself, if that is something that you've experienced. And then how you're protecting the next generation. So are you processing the sexual abuse that you experienced and how you were neglected in the past for yourself? And then how are you teaching the next generation? Now, are you teaching the toddler that you have in your life that there are certain areas where adults should not touch them? Are you teaching them how to say no? Are you teaching them how to have boundaries? And with some parents, this is where it gets tricky too. If you decide that you're doing that work for yourself, and you're doing the work for the next generation. So that means you have to be open to having uncomfortable conversations. And in this situation where you're teaching a child to have boundaries and to be able to say no and be aware and have agency over their body, you have to be able to deal with the child saying no to you too. Some adults are kind of like, hey, I said do this do this thing. I don't want to hear no back talk. Do what I said.
Yes.
But if you're instilling a lesson of you want that child to have agency over their body and the decisions that they make, this is just one example. Because what happens often is children don't know that they're being sexually abused. They don't know that adults are not supposed to touch them in that way. What we're taught as children is to kind of just respect your elders and you're obeying exactly what they've told you to do. But you're not taught that adults can violate certain boundaries and you're not supposed to be touched in certain ways.
I never thought about that. Yeah.
And then when you realize that you were betrayed, it's awful because half the time, more often than not, the person that is sexually abusing you is somebody you're supposed to feel safe around.
Yes, a protector. Yes. Okay, so how about the financial side?
So finances. Yeah. You've decided the generations before you mishandled their money.
Okay.
You haven't learned much about savings. You don't agree with what they've done. So now you're modeling something different. Now you're learning how to manage your money better. You're learning how to save for your future. You're learning how to be financially responsible. Now you're instilling that in the next generation. While you're learning, modeling, and then instilling. That's why I say it's such a loaded question, because the person that recognizes that a change needs to happen has so much work to do.
Yes, yes, yes. And I want to add to that. There are okay. And the last time we spoke about hobbies, and I jokingly say I like people a little more who have hobbies.
Yes.
And this is just my insight on it. You correct me if it's not accurate. Regarding generational trauma and so on, and financial issues and so on. If someone has a hobby, okay, and their hobby is something productive, so it's not like, okay, the day is not going well, I'm going to the bar and have 4 or 5 beers.
No, that's not the hobby.
That's not the thing to do.
No, that's not the hobby.
But if someone says, I had a terrible day today, my boss yelled at me, or I'm not going to pay this bill on time, I'm gonna step outside for a little bit. I'm gonna go fishing, and I'm gonna enjoy nature. I'm gonna enjoy the sounds of the birds, the water. I'm gonna go to the court and play some basketball. I'm gonna unwind a little bit. So now when I come back into the house, my head is clear, and I can approach the situation with a clear head. That's just, and it's kind of related to fitness, and it's related to, I believe everyone should have a hobby. So that's how I want to connect it. And if my grandfather was a fisherman, my great grandfather was a fisherman, most likely I'm gonna have a little interest in fishing, and I would most likely pull away from the negative activities and focus on what makes me happy long term, instead of just a quick just smoking or just drinking or something like that. Do you make that make sense? Do you get what I'm saying?
It makes sense, but I would describe that more as a coping mechanism. Life is filled with stress.
Yes.
So what you described was, this bill is late. I had a rough day at work. I'm going to do something to kind of ease my stress by doing something that's healthy for me.
Okay.
So there are healthy coping mechanisms and there are unhealthy coping mechanisms. As far as a hobby, I think that is an intentional way to bring joy into your life. And fishing could be that for you too. Like, this is something that brings me immense joy, like you described. I love hearing the sounds of nature. I love to see nature. It also sounds like all your senses are engaged when you go.
Yes,
so it's really like a whole experience for you. And I think that's the difference. A hobby is intentional joy.
Okay.
I'm planning it. I'm going there. I'm booking this. I'm getting all my materials ready. And then when you're trying to deal with a rough day, you have an option of choosing a healthy coping mechanism or a mechanism that isn't the healthiest for you.
Okay. It makes sense. So what would you say to that 25-year-old girl who is just trying to get everything together. That 25-year-old girl knows that her parents aren't doing right. She's not getting support from her parents that she feels she needs, and she feels alone. And she doesn't feel that family is someone she can speak to. What would you say, or perhaps recommend, that 25-year-old girl or 25-year-old man would do? What would you say?
I think, one, to let go of the expectations. Our parents are flawed individuals as well. They're human.
Very true.
Can't force them to be exactly what you want them to be. You kind of take the good and you leave the bad. Your support doesn't have to necessarily be family. Are there other avenues of support available to you? Do you have any other resources that are available to you? Is it your neighbor? Sometimes that kind of thinking limits who your support can come from, because if you're saying family is everything and I hold them to this pedestal, they're supposed to be the first in line to come and support me, but they're lacking. You could be missing out on other folks that are ready and willing to support you in ways that will kind of help you grow.
Valid point. Valid point. Valid point. Okay. So let's move on to medicine.